Everyone talks about the relevance of ARCs. Now, how do you study the second Administrative Reforms Commission reports for your UPSC Civil Service Exam? How to use ARCs reports for your Civil Service Exam? That's going to be the topic that we're going to deal in detail in this video, along with why to study it. Okay, Vinay Kumar here, international NLP and IAS coach. In this video, my dear friends, I am going to share with you why you have to read the ARC reports and how to use these reports for scoring whatever best marks that you want to score out of using the knowledge from here. Okay, let's start with the question of why. When we start with the question of why, I would like you to remember this acronym R, capital R, U, OK. This is generally something that you use in your WhatsApp text to ask someone whom you love that if is everything fine, to say that you would use R, U, OK. Perfect. Remember that R, U, OK, my dear friends, to whenever you get this question of why I have to read the ARC reports. R and U here means relevance and utility. Okay. See, why I have chosen these specific letters, let me explain to you, my dear friends. But then first, let me get into R and U within that. Relevance and utility. Anything that we are studying, as you know, for the mains exam, we first look at the relevance of it. Okay, the relevance of that notes or that textbook or some material that is there for building our content or building the or organizing our knowledge in the way it has to be for scoring the best marks that we can at the mains exam. Correct, my dear friends? Now, if you actually compare the syllabus of UPSC Civil Service Exam mains, okay, if you compare the main syllabus with the reports of ARC, you will get direct, you will have the direct relevance, direct utility of so many areas in these reports with the syllabus. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? Which means what? Not only like most people think ARC is important for the governance part of the paper too, but also by using these reports, you can build a lot of usable content for your answer writing, even to the topics in paper 1, general studies paper 1, especially society and geography. You're surprised, I'm talking about geography, but if you go and read the report of crisis management, you will come back and tell me why it is important for geography. The way so nicely the disaster management and all that has been explained will be useful to you for writing some answers in geography, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? Society, there is direct relevance. Okay, the areas in society, you can see very clear direct relevance. Okay, now that is paper 1. Paper 2, almost good number of areas in the polity section of paper 2, almost all of the areas in the governance section, almost all of the areas in governance section, you find, look at the kind of relevance that ARC holds for paper 2. I don't mention international relations here, but then for the polity and governance sections, okay, there is so much of relevance of the ARCs to almost every topic that is being there. Perfect. Come to paper 3. If you again look into the reports related to crisis management or combating terrorism, or there is a report on public order and all that. If you look at that, there is so much of relevance, my dear friends, to the security section and the disaster management section of general studies paper 3. Okay, and then if you go to General Studies paper 4, lots and lots of relevance, my dear friends, because there is in fact a report only which called ethics in governance. But along with that, most of the reports that are relevant to governance section of paper 2 are relevant for paper 4 as well. Like for example, the report on right to information, or the report on the report on e-governance, the report on citizen-centric administration, okay, the report on refurbishing the personal administration. Yeah, all these things are very much useful in both areas, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? So if you look at the relevance and utility, you can clearly see ARCs, the knowledge that you gain, that you acquire out of ARCs is directly usable, is directly applicable to write answers for more than 25 topics from the 4 papers of general studies. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? For more than 25 topics, you have direct usable content in your ARCs. Got that? And to many other areas, you can use it secondarily, indirectly, my dear friends. Perfect. That's the first reason why you have to use the ARCs, my dear friends. Okay. Then come to O. The good thing about ARC reports, even while it is talking about the reforms in administration, I see it being very practical. I see it towing official line. Now, what do you understand by towing official line, my dear friends? I can clearly see people who have helped to contribute to the drafting of ARC are not are people who have been in the government, in positions of responsibility. In fact, the chairman of the second ARC, Shri Veerappa Moily himself was the chief minister, was a former chief minister of the state government of Karnataka. So, as I see the ARCs and I compare it with many other reports that have come advocating reforms in administration, which may not have people sharing it, or as members who would have occupied different governmental positions, I can clearly see that the reports of ARC are more practical. They are more they're more coming from kind of horse's mouth. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? Which means what? They are not utopian. They are not some kind of citizen activism converting into hapless criticism against government and its methods of working, or its abilities and inabilities and all that. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? It's not like that. See, they've been in government, and from that experience they're talking and they're saying, see, this is where we faced difficulties in governance, in administration. If it can be reformed on these lines, these kind of outcomes can be guaranteed. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friend? So I see a lot of practicality, and because I see a lot of practicality in these reports, what I would advocate to you, my dear friends, what I would suggest to you is, if you can properly read these reports and develop the tone and temper that is there in the reports, whenever you write answers, you can toe official line. Towing official line is very important for someone who aspires to be an IAS or aspires to be in central bureaucracy and all that, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to do? Perfect. For someone who has an aspiration to become civil servant, it's very important to think and speak and even write like a government servant. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? Perfect. So ARC does exactly that. Rather than reading so many articles, reading though you can do of any articles, but then rather than picking up content that can be used for writing answers in mains from newspapers or magazines that is highly critical of governmental ways of working and governmental policies and programs, if you can actually source your content from reports like ARC, I feel it would be more useful and more practical, my dear friends, by the way. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? So because here in our Are You Okay stands for official line, practical utility. I see these reports as being very, very useful in giving you acceptable content for the evaluator. Rather than having critical content, you should always try to use acceptable content for the evaluator. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? If you're criticizing the government too much, the question is, I understand you're trying to be a change agent and all that, but do you believe in the sanctity, the authority, the the reality of the government? If you believe in it, then you have to also believe that government has its own set of problems and challenges within the framework of which it has to do what it has to do. Okay, so ARC does exactly that. It's not utopian in its recommendations. It's very practical, and if this kind of content can be used in your answers, it looks very balanced. Thank you very much, my dear friends, for understanding that. So K, when it comes to K, in the last two videos, we have summed up close to 200 keywords in Indian society in just our two previous videos. ARC will give you abundance of such keywords, and you know very well these keywords or the technical terminologies, as we call them, are game changers in your mains answer writing. When you use these terms at the level of your written mains or even at the level of your personality test, you end up getting more marks for sure, because general studies is actually not as general as you think it to be. Even though it is general in the sense that it is not optional and you don't need in-depth expertise like in the optional, you can't be generic in your answers when it comes to general studies. You will have to show that you are someone who is ready to get into the government by using as many technical terms as possible in your answers, my dear friends. And ARC, mind you, will give you a lot of such keywords which, if you can properly make a part of your cognitive reserve, can be used superbly in your answers. So, are you okay? Superb, my dear friends. That's the why for reading ARC reports. Come to how. I have just two things to share with you, or let's say three things. When it comes to how of studying ARC, first thing first, go watch my video on how to study anything for mains using the 3C formula. Watch that video, you will get to know what is 3C formula. 3C formula is applicable to reading ARCs as well. That's number one. Number two, don't limit yourself to reading of ARCs just for the level of mains. Read it for all the three stages of exam. Read it for all the three stages of exam: prelims, mains and interview. The reason is, see, again, how you actually read it is very different for prelims, mains and interview, which means what? I want you to read most of the reports of ARCs at least for 3 times, not just once. Because the way you would read it for prelims will be very different from the way you will read it for mains and interview, my dear friends. Okay? There was a question recently in one of the prelims. on social capital. A lot of people actually got it wrong. What is social capital? That if they had just gone through the headings of ARC reports, and they would have found one report being titled as social capital, okay, and they had just looked into the meaning of it, they would have got this question right, by the way. Like that, ARCs, my dear friends, definitely has a lot of things in it that can come as potential questions in prelims. Okay, that has a potential to come as questions in the prelims. So when you read it, all the new concepts that you are coming across, or all the concepts that you feel can be important to come as a question for prelims, set it aside in one place. For example, principle of subsidiarity can be a question in prelims. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? Such kind of things you have to make a list of and study it as if you are studying it just for the prelims. But then the relevance is there for mains and interview as well. For that, there is a different approach which we'll talk about it. Okay. Now, coming to mains, there is a different approach to actually study it, which I will teach you in my next point. I said, when it comes to how, I have 3 points to share with you. My third point is to deal with how to do it for mains, my dear friends, by the way. But then I want to say this thing in this point, that you have to read it for mains exclusively, either before you read it for prelims or after your prelims is over. When you do it, it's left to you. But then you have to do it, my dear friends. It's a must read because of, in the Y, I spoke about R and U and O and K, my dear friends, all of which are very important for mains. Fair enough? And then, coming to interview, as you know very well, my dear friends, being someone who is aspiring for a job in administration, okay, it's important to know about the administrative reforms that country is seriously looking at. And once you're aware of it, and if you can present it really well in the interview panel can see in you a futuristic, a progressive, a visionary statesman material. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friend? So, for interview, you have to study it like that. Now, coming to my third point. My third point will actually help you how you can study it, how you can study ARCs. Number one, for mains, in a way that you can optimize this content and use it to the best of your marks. And two, for your interview in such a way that your answers become really impactful and end you up in a league of some 210 plus in your interview. This is how it is. First thing first, you need to, rather than just plainly reading it, I want you to get involved in reading it. Involve, interact, and co-create as an outcome of it. Do you get that, my dear friends? Instead of just plain reading. Anyway, one round of plain reading will help you know what is where and all that. So that's okay. That's the 3C formula, where we do the comprehension and we know what is where, and we have all the things at least being understood. Having done that, when you're doing it for the second time, when you're doing it at the level of consolidation, how I would like you to do that is, my dear friends, involve yourself. Rather than doing some passive reading, involve yourself as you read, interact with the report, okay, and co-create. How do you do this? Any heading that is there, like let's say, for example, barriers to good governance. What are the challenges for implementing e-governance in the country? Now, instead of directly jumping into what is given there and trying to make notes out of it, first scribble your own points from all that you can recall. Scribble your own points. Okay? Once you do that, You know already what is there in your subconscious or what is there in your unconscious. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? What is already there which can be used? Now feel happy about it. That see, I can also answer on my own from all the preparation that I've done till now. What can be barriers to good governance? Now when you see into the ARC, you can see to what extent ARC points on barriers to good governance overlaps with yours. Number one, it makes you feel confident about your competence because you and ARC are almost on the same page. That's number one. Now, over and above that, when you are getting extra points from ARC, there are two advantages. One, you can add it to this basic mold and enrich your answer. Two, because this is over and above what you could recall by yourself. Now, whatever you are going to learn from ARC, you can know it as ARC's and not yours. Which means what? In the exam, you can explicitly say, according to second ARC report, and you can write these points because you have trained your brain now to know this. This is yours, this is ARC's. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? I taught you something very advanced just now, my dear friends. I hope you got it. Perfect. Okay. So this is about the way in which you would prepare for your mains or for your interview. I don't want you to just take the stuff that is in ARC and use it, but I want you to recall what you already know and to that add things from ARC. Okay, that's when you're co-creating. You're creating along with ARC a better version. I mean, I'm not saying you can create something better than ARC. I'm only saying how you can have more points to use in your exam. Fair enough, connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, but notwithstanding anything of this that you do, all this answer is only a basic answer. And to this basic answer, your regular reading of newspaper or magazines, your regular reading of any journals related to improvements in administration or reforms in administration is also critical in getting those extra marks, my dear friends. What ARC or your co-creation with ARC can at max do is it will give you that foundation on which you need to build a little more from your knowledge of current affairs and all that. Is that okay, my dear friends? So I hope you totally understood why you have to read the ARCs and how to read the ARC reports. Thank you very much for learning from this video, my dear friends. See you all in my next video on one more important topic from governance. Thank you.